Hi, I'm Kelly Rowlett-Presgrave. I'm president and CEO of Work With Your Hands, and we are so proud to be a sponsor of Power Women of the Trades podcast. You can reach us at workwithyourhands.com. Kelly at workwithyourhands.com is my email.
At Relentless Digital, we believe in breaking barriers and driving innovation. That's why we are extremely proud to sponsor the Power Women of the Trades podcast, supporting the voices and success of women in the home service industry. Together, we're creating a future where talent shines, regardless of gender, and diversity thrives. Join our journey at relentless-digital.com and always be relentless in your pursuit of excellence.
This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Chirp, the ultimate automation toolbox for home service businesses. Chirp helps you capture more leads, connect faster, close more deals, and create customers for life. Through text message, email, and ringless voicemail automation, Chirp can help you transform your customer's experience. Learn more in the show notes below.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
So here we are at Nexstar Super Meeting. Super excited to be hanging out with these ladies. So we are officially
personal
board of directors.
We have the first all-female personal board of directors for Nexstar. So it's like a miracle we're all here together because we've been communicating since December last year.
November, December.
And we meet and collaborate and give each other support.
Yeah, I think it's like really empowering to like know that a Peabod. Personal board of directors. That I can say it now, but I was thinking a Peapod.
I know. I've never said it right until today.
Okay. I think it's awesome though to be able to find a group.
We can say our names and just our companies. We don't have to make it weird. Well, I'm Leslie, Champion Plumbing in Oklahoma City.
I'm Dayna with CNC Heating and Air Conditioning out of Detroit, Michigan.
Amanda with Air Control Home Services out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona.
And Cassie with Quality Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I'm Devynn with Thompson Family Plumbing out of Hesperia, California.
Cool.
Okay, but you guys are close to each other, right? But you have two locations.
Yes. So we have two locations. Secondary location at Havasu is pretty small. And I'm really, really lucky and fortunate enough to be in the same town as this amazing woman. You know, every once in a while...
Because y'all are buddies, right?
We are. We actually text very regularly. We'll text like, hey, I had a horrible day. Yep. How was your day? We'll kind of give each other pep talks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's really amazing because you don't get that a lot and when you're in the same area. No. Like never. Most of the time.
I feel like I've been blessed with that in my area with Stacey. And then you close. Yeah. And she's a couple hours away from me.
And I definitely have connections in our area. Yeah. But, you know, we're not just... It's not the same. And especially with women, respectfully, as much as we want to be like so positive about how wonderful we are, but sometimes we're the problem. We're the problem. So sometimes it's like, you know, men often can get along better with the other men locally and not always are the women, right? Because it's like we're competition or we're doing this. And so I think that's good that you guys are able to do that and then become buddies. Mm-hmm. Because I think some days, like, Leslie and I being friends and in the same state, and so we're often experiencing the same weather and the same things. Like, it's like, what the heck is happening? And being able to call her and she's like, this is it. But But then I think with our group too, sometimes what's really good about our group is a lot of communication is through Facebook Messenger.
Yes.
And we just are sometimes all going through it and we can just talk it out.
Yes.
But it's so nice to be able to know, like, even if I haven't responded, because sometimes I'm radio silent, but I'll be reading it and I'm like, thank God they're having a shit show right now.
You're the only one. I personally feel like that's been the biggest benefit for me having you guys. It's because I feel like it's hard to find a friend to relate to. Your family doesn't really understand.
No, friends don't understand. You know.
And then
it's isolating.
Yes.
And then you're a woman at the same time dealing with a lot of really amazing, strong-minded men, and you're trying to find your voice, and you're like, am I being too much, or should I push a little bit harder? So I feel like with me finding the four of you, it's kind of helped me find and then reinforce my voice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, you just took a month-long sabbatical. I don't know how I knew that. I think we were texting about something in our group. And you were like, somebody was like, well, this is a shit show. And I was probably crying. And you're like, I just took a month-long sabbatical. And I was like, what? Talk about that.
I had a lot going on in my business. You know, I struggle with going back and forth between both locations. I really see the importance in having that FaceTime with my team. And I see that they really thrive with having my husband and myself there. So I'm constantly wearing myself thin. Going back and forth.
What's the drive time in between the two locations?
3.5 hours.
One way?
Yeah.
And how often do you go?
Once a week.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Yeah. My husband and I will take turns.
Do you try to do it in a day, or do you stay the night?
I do days. Sometimes I do have an apartment out there we stay, because sometimes we bring our kids. And I want my kids to have somewhere safe to stay. And I don't want them sitting at the office, because they've been doing that for 10.5 years. They're already done doing that. So trying to find that separation for them. But leading up to my sabbatical, I was really struggling, just tired, wasn't finding any time for myself, wasn't prioritizing my mental health. I was going to therapy, but I wasn't listening to anything my therapist was telling me. You know, I'd be texting Mandy like, I'm crying, I'm losing my mind, and then we'd give each other advice, but I'm not even following the advice I'm giving her.
We're all the same, aren't we?
You know, so I kind of came to a peak with a lot of things within my business and in my personal life as well, and it took literally a moment of me losing my mind, throwing my phone in my pool in my backyard, and it sat there for 4 days. I didn't check Slack, I didn't check email. I wrote a letter to my management team and said I'm taking a sabbatical. And I went through probably a good week of feeling like I was losing my mind. Like I probably should have been committed, to be honest. And I felt like I was coming out of a hostage situation.
This makes me want to cry for you, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
I literally felt like you're watching those movies where like the young girls like kidnapped and like, oh, like I just got out of this hostage situation. Like I felt like that. But then I realized I was the one holding myself hostage. I was. You know, we all start our businesses because we want the flexibility, we want the freedom, we want to be able to pick up and go and like, have more time.
From the truth.
And it's 100% the furthest from the truth.
That's not what this is.
And I learned I'm the problem. It's me. Hi, I'm Taylor Swift. I'm the problem. It's me. And I sat back and I watched my team thrive. I watched them make decisions in my absence. I watched them make bad decisions in my absence, but then I watched them recover from that. And that to me showed me that I can work on myself and be happy. My team is absolutely the right people in the right seats. And that's why we're in groups like this.
Most businesses' online presence is boring. And by being boring, they're losing out on potential sales and customers. Being interesting and exciting is what draws customers in and gets them to buy from you. But it's hard to be interesting online when you're focused on running your business and taking care of your customers. It doesn't have to be this way. We have the key to unlocking the solution to your problem. Key Heart Marketing can help take your business from boring to brilliant on social media. We can vouch for them. They run our podcast socials. If you want to have a strong social media presence that allows customers to know, like, and trust you, connect with Key Heart Marketing at keyheartmarketing.com.
Did you check your email? Were you in any communication with your office? Because this could be really hard because you're in business with your husband. So where did you draw the line?
So it was difficult with my husband because
He needed to vent.
He comes home. This happened. I need answers on this. I was still doing the accounting. I will, still got to make sure the money's coming in and out.
Right.
But I wasn't logging into Service Titan. Service
Titan's we love it, but it's like the gateway.
It's too excessive.
It's a gateway drug, but I was still checking emails because realistically, I can't just forget like my business didn't exist, but I had to cut off the communication because I needed mental clarity more than ever in that moment. And I deserve to give that to myself.
So in April of 2017, I haven't talked about this a lot, so hopefully I don't get emotional, but April 2017, I had a full-blown mental breakdown.
Yep.
Like full-blown, and I'm going to say 17, it might have been 18, full-blown mental breakdown. To the point that my body shut down. You couldn't touch me. If you touched me, I felt it everywhere. They had weighted blankets on me to get my body to calm down. And it was 100% this business and the pressures that I put on myself. And so it took me a little bit. I got through it. Went through some counseling. I did all the things and I've been in a good spot. April of this year, I felt myself going right back into that spot. And so I started having meetings and I started talking to our Nexstar coach. And one of the things he said, and this actually came from, there's been so many conversations, but one of the conversations he said even recently was, he said, back whenever I was at Disney, basically, there was something, he was somewhere and his son needed to put his coat on for him. And he couldn't put the coat on because he was looking at him and he was like, he couldn't put his coat on for himself at 6 years old because I had always put his coat on for him. And he said, you've got to stop. You're putting your coat on for your team all the time and they're capable. And I was like, that's it. And so I'm going to start crying. I started drinking already. Anyway, so I literally was like, you're wrong. At first, I was like, no, whatever, because I didn't want to understand that I was the problem. But when I started recognizing again that you're real close to another mental breakdown and this is 100% your fault, I had to start coming back and saying, this team is capable. And so we just pulled back. We left more. We stayed at home more. We worked from home more. We just pulled back to the point that some of our team started messaging and was like, is everything okay?
Right. Yeah.
What's going on?
Something's up.
What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. We're just having, if these managers are going to be paid to manage, I have to let them manage. And I even told one of the managers, I said, dude, if I'm paying you to manage, I need you to do it. If not, respectfully, I might as well keep the salary. And they're like, and I'm like, I don't mean it that way, but I'm not letting you do your freaking job. And so I just pulled back and I just there were even times in that time, one time Leslie was like, are you having a mental breakdown? And there's so many conversations.
That was in July.
You're like, you just have to recognize, you have to allow yourself, but there's so much empowerment in knowing that your team can do it. You've trained them for this, but you got to let them freaking do it.
And I had a similar situation. I was pregnant and I was getting my blood pressure was spiking. And so I had to stay at home for a month before I had my baby. And I was getting all these text messages, from my team. And I'm like, my mom finally had to call them and say, like, she can't do this right now because my blood pressure would just spike and I'd have to go to the hospital. And I think that taking that time away and then also having maternity leave, they kind of realized, okay, we can do this on our own. We don't need you all the time. We don't need to ask you for everything.
Your team can do it. You've trained them. If you have to, obviously we're all high achievers. I think that's why our group is awesome, right? But we're high achievers, and I think Nexstar was really smart putting us all together. But we have high expectations, but we're also fulfilling some type of void in ourselves too. And that's the problem of what are we trying to fill?
Let's go back. What else did you learn on your month off?
I learned that...
And what are you doing differently now?
What I'm doing differently now is I don't have Slack on my cell phone. I don't even have my email on my
Leslie's
phone.
Shut up.
I don't have it at all.
Someone give Leslie her phone. She's deleting Slack right now.
Well, then I can't talk to you and read it.
I learned that I need to reinstill a lot of time and training with my managers. If they are constantly coming to me because they can't find the resource, that's showing me that there's a void. There's something that I missed. And I need to hear every single thing that they're telling me and listen with intent and create objectives and an easy plan for them to achieve these things. I was sitting there thinking just Google it. nobody taught me how to run a business. I didn't go to business school. Google was my best friend. Meeting amazing women like you guys helped me learn through, my journey as being a business owner. But I also learned not everyone's going to be resourceful like that. They're going to rely on someone to give them the answer.
Because sometimes you're like, it's common sense. Why don't you do this?
But then it's not their business.
They're not start feeling guilty, well, it's not their business, so they wouldn't know.
But and I think a lot of them are afraid to make a mistake, and I tell them there's nothing that you can do that we can't fix.
So I started asking my team, do you need help, or do you need me to make the decision, or you just need an advice? Or are we venting, or do you need me to tell you what to do?
Do you need a hear or an action?
So it's are we venting, or you need me to tell you what to do?
I actually used this full-on Brent the other day about work, and it was really helpful. I'm like, do you want me to listen, or do you want advice?
And then you're like...
And he's like, I just want you to listen.
I think most of the time it's generally...
And then most of the time it's just listen. But then sometimes it's
don't do that.
Can I give advice?
You're biding your time.
I'm involved in this too, though. Can you not do that? But
one thing, though, that I think is important to recognize is that most women don't talk about, either having a mental breakdown or getting that close to one. And I think it's so important when women are vulnerable and they do admit that, it just makes it that much more, you realize you're not alone.
I think it's important too. We've all been there, and we're so ridiculous on ourselves. And then we're just but there's no way that they could. We were just talking to someone else earlier today who was so good with accounting, and she's so in my mind, she's just the accounting queen, and she is. But there's been so many times that I've asked her questions expecting her to tell me I'm an idiot and I'm wrong, and I'm not. But I would never give myself credit that I was right, because we just are just well, we're not good enough for that, or we're not this for that, or our business is a shit show, this is all a scam, or whatever, and it's just well, we didn't get this far by hopes and dreams,
I want to go back to what you said about how a lot of us are too afraid to admit how we're feeling mentally. I want to tie that into what I see you post a lot. You talk a lot about overcoming past traumas. Right. So all of us.
Well, and it's all related. And I'm just learning that now. When you start looking at core wounds, you have. I want to see someone do a study on. Well, core wounds, everyone has them. They either get dealt with or they don't, because a lot of times it'll happen before we even know, but how that plays out in your business as a business owner.
And that's it right there. How were we taught to overcome problems as a child? Were we given the tools to have constructive criticism given to us? Were we told just to figure it out and not to ask questions, be seen, be heard?
Or we were made to feel bad. Something happened to me that could have caused us to feel bad when we had a question, or we were scared to ask. Because I know I would get scared. I finally got over it because I was who's going to tell me what I need to know to get where I need to go? So I'd be in people's DMs for years. You know what I'm saying? But it was we're almost embarrassed to ask because everyone else knows the answer.
So our previous Nexstar coach, he's left, but one day I said, I just sometimes can't do these meetings because I'm afraid I'm not going to know something. And he was listen. He was you're not talking to someone that doesn't get it. He was used to when they would do the breakouts and it would be you're supposed to be networking or whatever. He was I would go to my room. Because, most of our Nexstar events are in a hotel, right? And he's I'd go to my room so I didn't have to talk to anyone because I didn't want someone to ask me something I didn't know the question to. And I'm bro, I know. I have to pee. Maybe I don't even have to pee, right? I have to do this because I have to get away. But then when you start talking to people, we really found this when we were building our shop, we wanted someone to help us with inventory so we could carry inventory and help us with the floor plan. So I had this perfect picture image that I was going to travel to all these shops. And I picked 5 shops and we went to Texas to these big shops. And we came back and had no plan because they were all a shit show. And it's none of us have the golden ticket. No one has a golden ticket. We're all just freaking winging it.
They're lying. Every single one of us are on these Facebook best practice groups, right? All these pages. A lot of them, people are boasting, look at me, look at that, I'm in this jet, I'm in this car, I'm doing this, and this. They're not talking about, oh my gosh, I had a complete mental breakdown today because I was so short-staffed, my kids are throwing up, I don't even have time to take my kids to urgent care.
I have mom screaming at me on the phone.
My customers screaming at me over
because they don't give a crap about all the problems in their life.
They don't care, and you're just just packing and you're carrying, and that backpack is getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and every day you're just putting more in that backpack, and eventually you fall flat on your face.
And then, or you're seeing all these people on these Facebook groups that are boasting about how great it is, and you're just like, why is my business not ever operating?
Yeah,
great?
Yeah, you're like, what am I doing wrong?
Exactly. What am I doing wrong? And someone on the show earlier, I hope I remember it, she said, but we're not always fact checking. Did they bankrupt a business and now they're coaching?
Oh,
that's it. Right? And you were just like, and Leslie was like, yeah, right? Like, that happens, right? But then those are the people that we let, because of social media, sink into our brain of like, they've got it together.
Yeah.
And
the ones that are always like boasting, like, oh, I did this much in sales. I always want to be like, but what's your net?
Yes. And that was, I'll be honest with you, for a little bit, that was definitely how I
Someone
ran.
posted something. Well, and it's funny as you go through different seasons of your business and the numbers you start to look at. And I sent it to Cassie. It was in some group a while ago, but it was like his biggest month or biggest day or whatever. But right above it was his booking rate, and it was like,
I saw that
21%.
Yeah.
I sent it to Cassie, and I was like, do you look at his booking rate?
Yeah, it's like,
there's a lot of things.
There's something there that he was like chasing top line revenue, and we've all done that. At one point, I was like chasing a number, and then we were like
what
negative.
about that booking rate, though?
Negative net profit. Like, what? But I was chasing
their
that
conversion
number.
rate's like 17%, and I'm thinking, okay, well, how much are you charging, like, per hour? What's going on here? That's crazy.
There's so many different.
Like when I told our team one time, I was like, guys, we don't have a call issue. You're putting so much pressure on the call center to outbound. We don't have a call issue. You have a conversion issue.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review and Apple. And make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.